I'd like to call the Wednesday, February 22nd, Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Rick Ogle, if you could lead us.
Lead you?
Lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. If it's okay with the board, since it looks like we have some public comment regarding the trash contract, if we could hold those off till
Till it's time to talk
till it's
about
time to
trash.
talk about trash,
Makes sense.
if that's okay. Okay? Any other public comment? I do not see any. Clerk Treasurer,
Good morning.
Ms. Lehman.
We have civil city claims in the amount of $837,801.05. That does include February health insurance.
I move we approve the civil city claims.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
We have the February 17th payroll in the amount of $455,325.41.
I move we approve the payroll.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
And we have water claims in the amount of $134,706.85.
I move we approve the water claims.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
And finally, we have sewage claims in the amount of $406,020.96.
I move we approve the sewage claims.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor? State by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Great job.
Oh, no problem.
It's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Department head reports, please be direct and to the point. We'll begin with Nick Minnick, Engineering.
People may see some stakes and flags up along the route for the Chessie Trail. So we'll start seeing some construction here. They're doing layout, and then we'll add some silt fence and things like that for erosion control. Then we'll start seeing it built. So,
Nice.
thank you.
And when is number 2, the second part of Chessie Trail, our hope, getting that complete?
I think we have like a May completion timeline for that.
It's quick. That's exciting and quick.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Okay, gosh, I don't know why it's
quick.
Yeah.
It's really fast. The weather's
And-
been decent, though.
Nick, again, we're going to cross Pine Lake.
Yeah, so it crosses Pine Lake Ave at the signal, and then it goes through the Chessie right-of-way, past the water plant, and past Larson Danielson Construction, Hospital, continues down Tyler Street to First, and then cuts over on First and goes all the way over to essentially the transport and street department area.
We're working on a lot of projects, and that's the whole engineering team downstairs and everybody. We got a lot going on.
And with that, so at the crossing at Pine Lake, that'll be just a standard, normal light crossing right there at the intersection?
Yes and no. So it is a basically like a pedestrian crossing, but because you're crossing 2 lanes and 2 lanes, and there's the open space in the middle, there's actually a jog in it, and it'll be protected. So it offers people the opportunity, if they can't go across all 4 lanes at once, you can go across. You're in a protected median, and then you can cross the next 2 lanes with the next signal. So.
Wow. Nice.
Jerry Jackson, wastewater.
Report, we got the gas leak resolved out at the treatment plant. H&G helped us out. They put in 600 feet of 3-inch plastic gas line in the treatment plant. That was replacing a 35-year-old steel pipe. that had been leaking. So we're back in operation, thank goodness. H&G did a nice job, hop in an emergency situation, got us back with heat, and got our digester running, so. And the crew assisted, and it all went, for that situation, it went rather well, so.
Perfect.
I think that's all I got.
Tim Werner?
Good morning to the board. Right now, the maintenance staff is working on dates for hydrant flushing for the spring and schedules, so I should have that here, hopefully by the next Board of Works, that way we can get that out to the public. Got a lot of staff going through their testing, through their IDEM certifications right now, and hopefully next Board of Works meeting, I'm going to be coming to the board with an idea of a guaranteed savings contract for the new well field. So look forward to that next Board of Works meeting.
And then, as you mentioned, IDEM, I think we're going to have to get with Nick Otis from a legal perspective. I received a phone call from IDEM regarding 39 North using our identification number incorrectly or illegally.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to make sure that we can address that. And I think you were given a letter from 39 North, so we'll want to make sure we address, and I think this is an example why we need to be dealing directly with our residents. So if we can talk about that after.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Craig Phillips, plan.
To keep things moving, I have nothing to report this morning.
Andrea Smith, HR.
Good morning, Board. Shockingly, I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. And Andrea, thank you for your help with the social worker, moving that along with the chief. Appreciate that.
Thank you, and again, thanks to HealthLink and PNW.
Beth West, Transport, Mark Schreiber, Park Department, with a big grin. He must be releasing what concerts,
Andrea walked all the way up here to say she had nothing.
what rededication concert.
I appreciated the effort. Nobody else, everybody else yelled it out. I thought that was,
I just figure you're going to announce the rededication concert today.
no. But I am going to introduce our new employee, our assistant director. She started last week, Susie Wireman. We appreciate the opportunity to bring her on at the department. She'll be taking on responsibilities across both park and recreation, but she will also have a dedicated duty of working with development. And as we see the need to increase revenues, to increase our resources, to be able to deliver to the public, Susie will be a big part of that. So just quickly, I'll let her introduce herself.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Very happy to be here, very happy to be on board. With 20-plus years in real estate, it's time to calm things down and start raising some money. And I'm excited to do that. So I have a little bit of a background in fundraising. I did a lot of side work for the YMCA in Valparaiso, helping them meet and exceed all of their goals year after year for the past 6 years. So I'm excited to put that behind me next weekend with their annual fundraising event and move forward here. So, thank you.
Well, we're excited to have you. I'm not sure who told you things would calm down, but we're still glad to have you.
400-plus agents calling me day after day. This will calm down.
Welcome.
Thank you.
No, and just one more quick reminder, our youth sports registrations are still open. The deadline for girls softball and boys baseball coming up a week from Friday. I believe that's March 3rd. So please make sure you get registered. Once we get past March 3rd, there'll be roster limitations, also a $20 late fee. So still time to get your child in for those two, and then tennis and t-ball coming up later this summer. So thank you.
Bert Cook, LEAP.
Good morning to the Board of Public Works. Bert Cook, Executive Director of the LaPorte Economic Advancement Partnership. One final reminder, our third house session is coming up this Friday, 8 a.m. at the Performing Arts Center at LaPorte High School. We're going to have a big crowd. We've had a lot of really good questions submitted. We have State Representative Jim Pressel, State Senator Mike Bohacek, the Mayor, Councilman Frankie, Commissioner Joe Haney, and County Council person Adam Karanka are going to be there as our panel. So if you'd like to attend, it's an event that's free to anyone that would like to be there. You do have to register. You can do that at laportepartnership.com or call the office at 219-324-8584. And then if you can't be there, but you have a question that you'd like to get answered by one of our legislators, you can submit that as well, and we'll be happy to try to work that into the agenda. Thank you.
Andy Snyder, Fire.
Thank you, Mayor. Last meeting, I had reported that we had hired Cameron Watt to the department, and he would be starting the academy at the 1st District on February 13th. Cameron is still working for us. We have decided not to enroll him in that academy because he would have had to start a week late. We have a longstanding relationship with South Bend Fire Department and their academy. They are going to start an academy on the 13th of March, so Cameron will be enrolling in that academy, as well as we have hired Patrick Roy and Brandon Young, both to start on the 27th of February, and they will enroll in that academy. Leaves us one short. We have a pension board meeting tomorrow to discuss the last open position, and hopefully that applicant will move through and we'll be a full staff by the time that academy starts.
Chief Breton.
As things work, after the last Board of Works meeting, I got notification that one of our officers was accepted into perf. I swore him in. I was going to have him here today. He is currently working, but he had court today in Miami County. He comes to us from North Judson, 9 years, law enforcement, and he's bringing his K-9. So we will get him at a future meeting. We are now currently staffed with the offers we've got in, conditional offers. We're waiting to hear back from perf probably today on the next one. I will probably swear him in right away because he wants to get started. He is a trained officer. He's worked for other departments. And then we have another one that's going through perf right now. They came to us from Westville. Hopefully we'll have him in the next meeting. And then we have another officer that we've hired, done the conditional, going through the perf background. And he does not have academy. We'll try to get him in the fall class. But that will make us, we're filled right now, so.
Jeff Batchelor, Streets and Code.
Yeah, just a kind of a follow-up with 1108 Clay Street. We're finally we got the permission for the demo with Pavey. He was awarded a contract, but I think I omitted coming to you to because he wants to donate the property to the city. So I just need to get the okay from you guys that he can donate it to the city.
Not Pavey, he's.
Not Pavey,
Yeah, he's.
the owner of the property, Chris Holdings.
We just need a motion accepting the donation.
So this is the property that was on, that the previous landlord owned.
Yeah, across from Lincoln School.
Yes, across from Lincoln School, had a fire based on a previous landlord issues. This is a property that can be developed for workforce housing, income, and as we talk about housing, it doesn't always have to be the banks. It can be one house at a time, but there's an opportunity with all the code violations that the opportunity just to, in exchange, donate to the city. The demolition will take place.
Yep.
And there'll be an opportunity for somebody to build there.
I'll make a motion to accept the property.
Second.
Discussion?
They paid for the demo, didn't they?
We're
Or part of
We're splitting it.
I knew there was some part that they were taking care of.
But it's an eyesore, an issue, kids were getting into it, and this is an opportunity, again, for some affordable housing. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Legal.
Nothing.
Department heads, anybody that does not have business before the board, go have a great day. Stay dry. New business, request for cruise night. Annette Leffler.
Good morning. So after a couple years delay because of COVID restrictions, Rusted Knuckles is going to host an official cruise night on June 10th of this year. And so they're asking for, excuse me, to use city property. They have to request our property first, and then they'll go to the highway department to request the use of leeway. So basically, they start they're going to start at oh my gosh, I'm sorry. They're gonna start at Andrews, they'll come down Lincoln Way, to Adams Street, and then they'll go back, and then when they get to J and Lincoln Way, or J and Highway 2, they kind of go up and use K Street so that it's one way coming, I'm sorry, it's one way coming from Andrews to Lincoln Way, and then it's just a loop up and then back.
Is it like the parade route?
Yes,
That's what it says in
basically.
here, okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second discussion. Chief and Fire, how do you feel about does this address, do we still need to support the unofficial cruise nights, or how would this work towards just making this the priority? Because you've started to have issues.
Well, can I
Right.
add that they,
Oh, please.
Rusted Knuckles, the next thing is, they always have an agreement with the police department that they pay for extra police on the roads that night, and that's the next thing on the agenda, is their agreement with our police department also. So, sorry to interrupt.
No, the only thing I see is they extended it to 4 hours. We did 3 hours coverage before, so
Okay.
we would have to negotiate that with them a little bit too.
Okay.
These organized ones are pretty decently run. I mean, but the police presence is there. And that's that's a big thing. We've got the guys out there. And I think these have never been a problem for us because of that. But as far as the other, I think it's run well, but you always, when you get somebody in there that doesn't respect the other cars, yeah. And I think that's what the unofficial ones bring, unfortunately. We try to be out there, but, it makes it hard to get the calls or whatever,
But someone's organizing the unofficial.
I don't think they are.
No, I think it's
they just put something out on Facebook that the first Saturday and this time, and I don't believe there's any organization or responsibility taken for it.
Right.
I agree. I mean, when even the accidents that we've had that have been the problems, trying to track it back to who put this thing together, nobody wants to take the claim for it. So I agree with Chief Breton. With the police presence, it's always been, in recent years, acceptable. It also allows us the ability to plan for alternate routes to get around, so we don't disrupt the cars, and they're not disrupting our responses. But when it's unofficial, we don't know when they're doing them, what they're doing, and we run into problems trying to respond to calls on top of it.
We don't get the complaints on the organized one. You get complaints every Monday is horrible afterward. Or during.
With what, trash or with?
Just, like I say.
People calling in
yeah.
after, I see.
And we get complaints because of it being dangerous. Without the police presence there, and they can't be expected to be everywhere at once. But we've gotten multiple calls like Paul does on the weekend after, or the weekdays after, wanting us to do something about it.
So will this one will be, is it a road closure then?
Yes.
Yes.
So this will,
It's a
okay.
closed route, so nobody will be allowed on the route unless they have registered to be a part of their cruise. They pay to be a part of that cruise, and it's a closed route.
Okay. So yeah, definitely, adding an hour, right, to close down Lincoln Way.
Yeah, the state would have to
clarify
approve
that for
that,
you.
yes.
So then I do have a motion and a second for this. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, the second is just the agreement between the city and Rusted Knuckles that they will use our police presence, and they pay them their expected overtime rates.
And if we accept this agreement, can it still be negotiated between Chief and Rusted Knuckles?
But for the officers?
For the hours?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I think there's a 3-hour minimum when you,
Right.
correct?
Right.
That's it. It doesn't say a maximum, it says a minimum.
For officers. right.
Officers, a 3-hour minimum.
Obviously, it's up to the officers if they want to work it, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, it's, yeah.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry Jackson, scum pump.
We requested quotes from 3 contractors for our, the replacement of our scum pump and some improvements associated. Only got one from Pavey Excavation in the amount of $91,518.00. That quote, this is similar to lift station work, and given that the vault's there and we're providing the pump, the number is in line with what I expected. The Pavey has done well in past work, and the nature of the project's in his wheelhouse and what they can do. So I'd recommend approval of the quotation for $91,518.
And do you have a copy of that quote?
Yes. Did you not get it?
I want to make sure.
You got it?
This is the
Do
original.
you want to see one? I want to make sure the board has an opportunity.
Booking my hotel for.
And we've had good success with Pavey, so.
We have, yep.
And that, and I'm sorry, that, Jerry, was that, it's in line with what you would expect?
It
for-
is.
For that?
It is. The,
One?
you know, a complete rehab of, our complete construction of a lift station's a $400,000 job, and this has got some force main and pump installation and some, it's about the right number.
So I do have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Phosphorus pay.
This is pay request number 10. We're at 80% of the job. The requested payment is $119,267.54. Nice Engineering reviewed it and recommended approval of payment. $25,149 is returning of retainage to KDM. And we're at about 1.3% now for change orders, so we're doing good on change orders. We should start phosphorus feed today. As I've been saying, this is pushing it to the last minute. We got to be in compliance with our March limitation. So this thing needs to be cranking. It gives us maybe a week to fine tune and be set. It's nice that it's a month-long limitation. We can, if we're a little high, you know, early in the month, we can crank it down lower and vice versa. There's some time to adjust and get the system working right. So I'd recommend payment of pay request number 10, again, in the amount of $119,267.54.
Does that mean this is 100% complete?
It's,
Or
the-
what percentage are we at then?
it's 80%.
Okay.
This project is a chemical feed system for phosphorus. It's a switching from gas to liquid disinfectant instead of having ton cylinders of chlorine gas and sulfur dioxide. This system will feed liquid. That part is still remaining to go. There's some electrical work still remaining to go, but we're up to the point we can feed it's polyaluminum chloride that takes out phosphorus. So we're up to the point we can feed that.
So this ended up working out well because we were worried we weren't going to be ready by the deadline, correct?
Yes.
So
We're
just
there.
in the nick of time.
Yes, exactly.
I'll make a motion to approve. Do you have it with you, Jerry? We didn't get that document either.
Oh, I don't know why these documents didn't come out there.
So I do have a motion. Do I have a second?
Did we already have the motion or no?
I made a motion.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I
Need a
asked for the
second.
I didn't
document.
second yet? Okay, second.
So I do have a motion and a second. Let's hold so everybody sees the
And that-
pay up.
What's the 25%?
Yeah. The retainage, is that what
retainage?
you were talking about?
25,000 is
25,000,
retainage returned some of their retainage. They actually, in one of their previous pay requests, had put in too large a number for retainage, so we held too much of their retainage. And this is bringing it up to, we withhold 10% of the first half of the contract, and then after that, we go to 5. So this would put us on that 5% number.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Jerry. Chief Breton, Laporte lease agreement.
You'll see the lease agreement for 9 of our admin detective cars. Laporte Chrysler has called those back after a 2-year agreement. This is going to be a 1-year agreement because of the cost of these cars has gone up and his cost of doing business with interest rates, so we'll renegotiate next year. And to keep it the same, what we did is we dropped one of our drug unit cars off that Haida agreed to pay for both our cars there. So you'll see the dollar amount's the exact same as it was per year, the last 2.
It's not the same, is it?
Did we get the correct one in there? I sent it back to Courtney.
Well, I've got 2 of them and neither of them are dated.
I received,
2?
I've got for 9 and I've got for 8.
No, 9 is the correct number. He had the wrong number on the first one.
Is it 36, or
30.
365 a month per
Yeah.
vehicle?
9 vehicles for a total account of $32,784.
Yes.
784.
Is in
Yeah.
line with what we budgeted.
Right.
And the year before, we had 9.
We actually had 10, but one was a used car that wasn't on there, but we used it for the drug unit. Now we use 2 cars, and the federal government has picked those 2 cars up for us.
So no reduction.
Just the one drug car, yes. That Haida picked up,
But I mean, meaning they're paying for it.
yes.
So we still have that car for our officer to use.
No, we don't need it. Well, yes, we do. We have 2 of them now, but the Haida picked up that payment on those mid-year last year.
So same number of vehicles, paying for
Right.
one less because of the government.
Right.
Okay.
Which we like.
And this contract doesn't have any dates on it, though, at all. Nothing.
Yeah. The one you have, Joni, the last one
It
said?
doesn't have
Was
a
it just
date on
one-
it either.
The dates will be on the lease agreement.
Yeah.
I think that would
We
be
actually will need
important.
lease agreements that will need to get signed.
Yeah.
Lease agreements, this is just.
Right.
Well, I would recommend the lease agreements come back then. Will we have those at the board for?
When they come in, the cars
legal?
aren't in yet. We had one come in that came to your office, but the other cars haven't come in. We have one lease agreement came in.
Because I would say each of those need to be approved by the
Yes,
Board of
I
Works.
agree.
So with,
So are we just tabling this until we see those?
Well, do they need approval to order them? Is that what you're asking for there, Chief?
Well, yeah, as they come in, I would bring them in. We sent one to you already, I know. Because one came in, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
And he got that, we got that agreement to the clerk's office.
Okay.
But she wanted this agreement, I guess the approval to sign those is what I'm asking for as they come in.
Sign for them, but we still need legal approval.
Correct. Any lease agreement would need to be approved by the Board of Works.
So your recommendation?
So they've already been ordered, is that correct? Okay. So I would just say we don't have a lease agreement before you today, so.
all we have is a letter.
All right, so, and it sounds like maybe we have one lease agreement,
Yes.
didn't get on the agenda for today. As they come in, each one should be brought, and they could all be done together if they all come in at the same time, so.
Which won't be likely.
Right,
We
right.
probably won't see the others for a few months. We
But
don't know why
this-
one came in.
I mean, per the board's, this doesn't have a date, so what are we approving today?
Nothing.
I would say nothing if it's not the lease agreements because it's not like a fleet lease agreement, right?
it'll be, so on the letter though it's a term of 1 year and that will start when the vehicle comes in, so,
Right.
okay.
But
So
it'll
really,
alternate based on when we get each vehicle, so all 9 won't be the same date, like it won't be as of March 1, correct? Because they're
Right.
all being delivered.
Right. I think the one came in, we've had the one at least 2 weeks.
2 weeks, that's what I think also.
Yes.
And
we have no
every-
idea on the others.
It used to be we would have 10 vehicles and the lease amount would be the same for each one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The lease amounts are even a little different depending on the vehicle that we're getting. So I agree with the city attorney. As they come in, we can have them on the board. I mean, you can, the vehicle's already been ordered, so I don't know.
I'm not sure we need to approve anything here, though.
Correct, that, yeah, I would say each
I
of
would
these.
just, this is
Is
bad
it-
information.
Chief, is this just, hey, this is what it's gonna cost for each one?
Yes, that's what it was. It
All right,
was,
all right.
and Courtney needed that.
Yep.
It's just continuation, because he put a 2-year, I think you do 3-year lease, don't you?
do, but he's
Yeah.
backing off of that to 2
All
years
right.
now for us.
Because of the cost, interest rate. What are the opportunities for HIDA to continue to pay for vehicles moving forward?
They will pay for the 2 that are in the drug unit. 'Cause we have 2 that are assigned that, and they change those cars out. Those are used cars, so they change them out quite often. You never know what they're driving. I mean, they notify us, we change the insurance on them. But that's a rotating car because of the nature of the business, obviously.
And HIDA has paid in the past, or this is their first year of doing
They
this?
started last year, about mid-year.
What does HIDA stand for?
It's the high.
High-intensity drug.
Okay.
That's all it's federal agency, it's Michigan City. They're paying everybody's now, they're paying the sheriff's department, Michigan City's, and our cars.
And as we talk about things being paid for, the prosecutor called last evening. Let's make sure we hold him to an investment in the police department.
Oh, he's being held.
Good. If you need anybody to drive a car with lights, let me know.
No, I know who you have in mind, and
Any further questions? Mary Ann Richard. Oh, go
So,
ahead, I'm
no,
sorry.
so we're not, we didn't
not
have a
gonna-
motion or anything, so we're good with, okay.
Mary Ann Richards. Bids for sidewalk replacement, which we really like to see.
I am requesting authorization from the Board of Works to solicit quotes for sidewalk replacement on Harrison and Detroit and Noble Street. I've got a couple addresses on Noble, too. And this would be using CDBG funds.
How did you decide that these would be replaced?
Walk the neighborhood. Plus, it's within the triangle,
This is good stuff here.
and it's also, it's a qualified census tract for HUD because of the income.
Do you have a form?
Nope.
Do you have
I
something
think that
that,
she's just asking. to see-
I'm just asking for authorization from the board to solicit quotes.
but I'd also like to know how much. I mean,
Well,
the
that's what I was-
sidewalks are important right now as we're dealing. Do you know,
Yeah, what's the budget?
We try to, we can share that with you, but we try to not put that out there until we
So that the
receive the
bids-
bids. So we generally have a guess as to how much we're gonna be able to do, and we can get that to you. I have a bid package that Mary Ann put together that I'm reviewing right now, so we can send that as well.
And we
Mary
have
Ann's done a
square
really-
yards on a work table.
Yeah, and Mary Ann's done a really great job when we're able to use CDBG funds, kind of marching away from our priority area 1 and trying to just get as much done as possible. So this really is the ideal location to be using the CDBG funds, and hopefully we get a lot of sidewalks done in an area that definitely needs it. So.
especially in that
Also-
lower income census
Right,
tract?
and Lincoln School, this is surrounding the Lincoln School. They are a non-bus school. Everybody walks or gets dropped off by a parent or a grown-up. And some of these sidewalks are horrific. So again,
We're making progress
yes.
every day on
Yeah,
sidewalks.
Yeah, we're trying, in this neighborhood, we're trying to utilize community crossings when we can, but that takes away from paving, so this is nice because it's funded at 100%, and it's, we can use it specifically for sidewalks, and it doesn't take away from our paving, so Mary Ann's done a really great job, helping identify that key area for us.
Great.
And what are the chances, I mean, I don't know, if we get weather like this, does this have to wait till spring? Or if you get days, is this work that can be done?
Well, we have to get through the bid process.
I mean, once you
Yeah,
decide.
once we're through that, then by
Then
the time
we
we get
can-
through that, the weather will be good enough to start work.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Money.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
But if the bids come in, we could possibly do more.
Correct. I don't expect the bids to come in that great
don't
because
either.
concrete is real
Concrete's very
expensive right now.
Very expensive, yeah.
Well, I do have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Solicit bids for homeowner repair program.
I have 3 households from last year that I need to do this year. And again, this is CDBG money.
Do you have?
And I'm just requesting authorization to solicit quotes. This would be quotes and not bids.
What are the issues with the homes?
We have electrical issues. We have one house that's at 60 amps and has got 4 glass fuses in the, so they've only got 4 circuits for the entire house. We have lead paint issues that we need to remediate. We have one house that has a homeowner in a wheelchair, and we need to make the bathrooms and 2 doorways chair accessible. They've also got a collapsed water line going through their front yard that needs to be replaced.
So these houses were worked on in '22?
No, they have not received. We took applications for them last year,
Oh, okay. So now we're ready to do the work?
and now we're ready to do it.
Gotcha. I'll make a motion to approve. Or to
Second.
solicit the bids.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. I mean, we're going to have to walk through these, in my opinion, when they come back.
Right.
You know, the lead paint, there are funds for lead paint. I mean, if these dollars could be used, as we talk about sidewalks, you know, the impact, discussing what is the bigger bang for the buck. I mean, the water line, I'd certainly like to hear Tim's thoughts on this, if there's something we can do, just to talk about this.
Yeah, the one thing that I know we did last year was hearing the concerns of the board. When vetting potential properties, we tried to make sure that there weren't, we weren't going to get into repairs that exceeded the value of the home, but tried to find some projects that could make a big impact with maybe less dollars than we've seen go into homeowner repair program in the past. So that's something that we have been looking at. So I think the quotes will help prove that, and we'll see what that looks like.
And this is the last of the homeowner repair program participants, because we did not accept any new applications for subsequent years.
My other issue is, I know there's lead paint federal money out there that maybe we could use separate for that, but let's get this approval going, then we can have that discussion.
Well, does approving solicitation of bids for these prevent us in any way then shifting funds outside, of, not using the CDBG funds, and instead using, if we do find another source for lead paint remediation, like, we're not limiting it in any way, right?
The source of the funds to pay for it, you're not agreeing to use this pot of money versus that. You're just getting the bids. So, okay.
This is all coming out of CDBG.
Right. We're just saying that maybe CDBG money could be used for something. If we find grant money for
Lead
some
paint.
of these issues, then we could use the CDBG money for more, can you move it from one bucket to the other? Can it go from home repairs to sidewalks, as an example?
The
money that's in
cooperation of the city in doing an allocation, a new allocation, budget transfers, and if HUD is willing to do a substantial amendment on the action plan, yes.
Okay.
But again, that all takes time because there are comment periods.
Okay.
That's not something that will happen in 2 months.
Right.
Because even applying for lead paint remediation grants, we're looking maybe a year to 18 months down the road.
All right, so we do have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Mary Ann.
Thank you.
Excited about those sidewalks. David Heinold.
David Heinold, City Planning and ADA Coordinator. So this is kind of give a little bit of background ADA transition plan we've been working on over the past year, about 6 months, to develop an update to the 2017 plan. We actually, LaPorte, we adopted ADA policy and transition plan in 1994. We did an inventory in 2007 of the sidewalks and curb ramps, and then in 2012, and then 2017 we did updates again. But this update is more about just clarifying our responsibility and separating the Title VI plan and the Title II plan, which the plan that this specifically focuses on is just like provide accessible pathways, curb ramps, sidewalk condition, inventorying some of the self-inventory of our public facilities, making sure that they're accessible, fully accessible, and a lot of what goes through with the plan, you'll see is we've accomplished a lot in the time since the 2012 and 2017 plans. So that's reflected in this plan, going through the whole inventory, just adding it all up. We have 597 street intersections with sidewalks, or where sidewalks are present. So that means that you should have a accessible ramp to get to that sidewalk. 16% of those are on state routes, so it's just over 500. So we're at the point where we have 200 intersections that need to be fully accessible with ramps at all corners. That's the number, so it's about a third. So that kind of goes through a little bit of the plan. It's 643 ramps missing and non-compliant of a total of 2,347 total ramps in the city where those intersections are. So really, I mean, sidewalks, and just kind of running the quick numbers, talked a little bit about that. Rated A condition, a lot of them are new sidewalks. There's really like slight cracks. They're not rising to the point where their accessibility issue is about 45%. And then of that there's 90 miles of sidewalk in the city. It's just kind of a nugget. There's like 110 miles of streets, just for a comparison. And then really from that rating of B to F, where you have 20% to pretty much a lot of segments of sidewalk missing, is about 55%. And so that kind of gives you an idea. But I think in talking with Nick Otis, I kind of would lean on recommendation. I believe this is a recommendation to the City Council for adoption of the plan.
Yep.
And within this is the grievance procedure, and outlines the ADA complaint form on how people can submit complaints and how those are filed, how those are addressed through the process. So we'll take any questions if you have them.
This is something every community has to do.
Yep.
So comparable, we'll be able to compare to other communities.
Yep.
Because I think a lot of progress has been made during this administration and before to make sure we're addressing the problems. And it just would be good to compare our work versus other work, because many other communities have 50-50, whereas due to that court case, we're supplying quite a bit of 100% funds to address the sidewalk issues.
So sounds like from the numbers you were sharing, and thanks for going through all that, I mean, about 2/3 of the intersections have accessible ramps, or, the drop-offs that are obviously the appropriate way it's done. So 2/3 are in good shape. The other third is where we need to
It's really the focus.
put them in, or it's the cracking is such that they're not accessible.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of, a lot of communities go into full depth on rating how tall the cracks are, and certainly that takes it to another level, is getting the right equipment out there to measure how deep they are, what the slopes are of the sidewalks. The plan doesn't, this one update doesn't really go into that, but it measures the width of sidewalks to make sure they're fully accessible, making sure that there's a ramp there, and that that has the updated guidelines for public right-of-way accessibility guidelines. And so those ramps have to meet a certain standard, have the little bumps on them at the corners. And so this is bringing that into compliance at those intersections.
So from here, like, it's something we approve, goes to the council, then to approve, and then to take action on.
Yeah. And we can post the plan on the website, and certainly people can, I think they can comment on the plan. A lot of communities accept public comment on the plan that's been developed as a way to kind of get an idea from the public, if their thoughts, but, so.
Okay, and then how, as far as like these, so I imagine these, they're not all gonna be addressed right away, right? How are they prioritized then? Is that up to the council to decide, or is it kind of part of the grievance? Like, you look at anyone who files a grievance based upon a certain intersection?
So it's broken down by priority areas. So as was mentioned with around Lincoln Elementary School, schools is a primary focus of that project, and certainly those areas, especially the southeast area of downtown, are focus areas where they're around schools, businesses, government facilities, public facilities, so City Hall, Parks Department, Civic Auditorium is one of those, so it just gives you an idea of kind of the highest priority, and then lower on down is more like the parks and different areas around town that kind of more focus on just getting around.
Sure.
The ADA
Versus
grievance
launch.
procedure does allow for, though we have priority areas set by our agreed order, and then we're systematically working in kind of these other areas where we know that there's more pedestrians. An ADA grievance then kind of triggers that to move up, because we can't identify, every location where there's a home where somebody has a disability that requires ADA accessible sidewalks. So that grievance procedure kind of moves some things ahead of that overall program to get our sidewalks done.
So the sidewalks that Mary Ann is going to be repairing or getting bids on is going to help in that regard as well?
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And so this plan was first developed in 1994, so this is amendment to the plan, or?
They're called updates, because every 5 years you look at your community sidewalks, curb ramps, making sure that what you're doing is in the plan, addressing that with the widths and the conditions. I feel like also in the plan as well.
And our original 1994 plan came out of our agreed order and lawsuit and everything. So the city of LaPorte is actually, our plan started before there was a lot of direction and guidance on how to develop this. And David's done a really great job of kind of jumping ahead to make sure that we're not only current, but kind of leaning forward on a lot of the requirements of ADA transition plans. So the document you have is very, very good, and I appreciate all of his work on it. He's done an excellent job.
Well, excellent work, David. Do I have a motion or do we need to approve this?
Yeah, I
Is there a
think
motion
so.
to approve?
So you're recommending to the city council.
To the city council.
Recommending adoption.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Excellent job.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thanks,
Nick-
David.
Nick Minnick, Truesdale and Clear Lake Loop Trail Project bid opening. Good news.
Yes, we have affidavit of publication for the Truesdale and Clear Lake Loop project, originally dated advertised on December 22nd and December 29th. Ended up kind of giving a little more time for bidders, but that still resulted in only one bid. We'll talk about this in a little bit too with the letters and numbers, but that one we received essentially one and a half bids, we'll call it. So
We received one.
Where does that come from?
Big brother.
Yeah.
we had two separate contracts in that project, and we had one bidder that only bid on one contract, which is
Okay, we received one bid from Reeve Riley.
here's all bid documentation. Second. The bid from Reith Riley Construction is in the amount of $7,745,007.75. That's
Could you repeat that?
Yeah. $7,745,007.75. So that's 7,745,007.75. And this bid will be reviewed, and we will bring it back to the next meeting. We'll likely do some value engineering, because it's.
And these dollars will come from,
It's a combination of sources, Redevelopment Commission, ARPA, and Healthcare Foundation grant. Healthcare Foundation grant is specific for the recreational amenities adjacent to the road, and then the other funds fund the actual road project.
can you imagine Truesdale, a new Truesdale, biking and, I know you have that look because you bike on Truesdale, so.
I'm not sure how many bent rims and flat tires I've gotten going along Truesdale. I've literally stopped riding it unless I got a mountain bike. So yes.
So do I have a motion as stated by Nick?
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. A lot of work being done. I hope everybody sees the attempt to improve our community.
Definitely. The next item would be bid acceptance and recommendation for the Letters and Numbers Street project. This is essentially 3 separate contracts, Contract 1, Contract 2A, and 2B. We do that because funding comes from Community Crossings Matching Grant. Bids were opened and read aloud last Friday at 9 o'clock. Thursday or Friday? Whatever. Last week at 9 o'clock. Friday, okay. We did receive 2 bids for Contract 1 and then 1 bid for Contract 2. The lowest, most responsive bidder for Contract 1, there were no irregularities. The lowest, most responsive bidder for Contract 1, D&M Excavating, in the amount of $566,917.90. D&M did not bid on Contract 2. Contract 2A and 2B, the lowest, most responsive bid was $5,398,259.90. And I would recommend award to D&M Excavating for Contract 1 and to HRP Construction for Contract 2.
Motion to approve? Based on legal approval.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
So HRP Construction, so that would be both 2A and 2B. And overall, it looks like even though Contract 1 came in quite a bit lower than expected, but Contract B came in higher, but the overall is still a little lower than we expected.
Yeah, so Contract 1 was actually 42% lower than the engineer's opinion of probable cost. Contract 2 was 7.4% higher, but combined, they were 0.9% lower than the engineer's estimate.
HRP did Monroe Manor, just.
They've been a very good contractor for the city in the past.
And then so this work, will that bring the letters and numbers area, will it, to what extent of like this separation?
10th to 18th, I think.
10th to 18th, yeah, and now I'm referring to the part from 10th to 1st is the north, letters and numbers north, so that's the next. But yeah, that'll do that piece.
Let's call that one numbers and letters.
Numbers and letters, that really confused people.
And how will this help or not do anything for F Street around by the high school? Is that not part of this?
Everything done with this project improves drainage within that vicinity. So essentially, there are basement backups all the way up to, yeah, well, to 10th and beyond.
Up to First Street, yeah.
So this takes the combined sewer, separates it, and then that allows for more capacity within the sanitary. So this will benefit kind of that a larger area than the pipes that are going in the ground.
But the road will be done over.
I Street will be
road.
done from 10th to 18th, and then we'll have several side streets as well.
But just as a reminder to the public, springtime is coming, rain is coming, so we're still taking grants to fix basement repairs, correct?
Yes, yep,
So
Didn't
I,
it start over? I mean, don't we have a full pot,
yes,
so to speak?
yep. Yeah, I mean, we have a very large combined sewer system, so this is, try to hit the hot spots first and keep plugging away at it.
further discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Street paving pay app.
We didn't have this on the agenda, but we do have an amendment for kind of designing some additional services.
Is this part of the street
project.
paving?
No, it's a part of the last item still.
Okay, go ahead.
And then we also have, I generally like to have a separate engineer oversee construction than the designer, but in this case, because we're kind of commingling several funding sources and contracts, and all those contracts are broken up by pay item, it makes a lot of sense to have the designer doing it. So we do have a proposal for Nice Engineering to oversee construction as well. We can bring that up now, or we can have you guys review and bring it back at the next meeting. I think since we're awarding, hopefully contract 1 gets started before the next meeting, or at least, we can have a pre-construction meeting. So the
But
dollar
you're
amount.
asking for,
Approval for at least construction inspection for Nice Engineering for contract 1 in the amount of $63,350. The total amount, and this is right around 8% generally, for contract 2 is $384,120. And then we have some additional design work that was completed or being completed by Nice in the amount of $27,350, $1,150. So that's a lot of numbers to throw at you. That's why
I'm not sure
we can bring it next time. But if
I'm not gonna vote on this.
But initially, I think, were you saying that you're looking in particular for the approval for Nice to oversee?
I think contract 1, it would be nice if we at least authorize them to proceed while we continue to review this.
which is the Torino Pond
Correct. Yeah.
and South Basin, and what are we approving?
Construction engineering services. So this is pre-construction meeting, oversight of actual construction, kind of that
And
range of services.
does this address the flooding in the street and the backyard as a part of?
That's the other numbers I had given you.
The first part is just improving the basin so it can receive the water.
Yeah, we can't fix that until the basin is.
But we're still
essentially-
going to
yes.
fix that flooding?
Yes, yep.
Yep.
And what would the amount be for the construction and engineering services just for contract 1?
$63,350.
And who's paying that? Engineering?
Comes out of the same funds that pay for the entire project.
So we're gonna have one member-
With the exception, community crossings cannot pay for that.
So we have one member that will abstain. Would you like to make a motion?
Yeah,
Are you comfortable?
I am. I'll move that we approve Nice Engineering for the construction engineering services for contract 1.
I will second that. Further discussion?
And just, do you have any concerns about them, in terms of being both design and oversight?
No, like I said, it's not normally what I would recommend, but in this case, because of the complexity of how we had to break specific items out in order to meet the requirements of community crossings, it will really help to have the designer very engaged. So they have, their designer isn't gonna be the one in the field, they have another crew for that too. So I think it'll be, this will work in this case. Again, I tend to not make that recommendation because I like to have an extra set of eyes on projects, but Nisa's done such a great job on this type of project design-wise in the past. And like I said, because of the complexity of the funding of the project, it really would be helpful.
The right hand will know what the left hand is doing.
Yeah. Sometimes it's nice to have somebody else making sure that,
Yep, second eye, set eyes on the design.
Right.
So I do have a motion and a second. Further questions, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 2-0. Member Romine will abstain.
I think it's interesting, I've never, in all the many, many years I've been here, never done a project where we've got water, sewer, civil city, and a grant all funding a big project like this. Pretty cool.
Nice work.
And the street paving pay application, I'm gonna hold off on that. We're getting so close to the end, I'd rather just bring a complete application. We've got a couple punch list items left, so.
I'm sure Reith Riley appreciates that.
Well, I think they'd like to be paid, but, we'll,
They will in a couple weeks.
yep. And
Thank
it'll
you.
offer us the opportunity, like I said, they're starting to gear back up and we can get some more punch list items taken care of, so.
Thank you. So with that, unfinished business, 2023 to 2026 or beyond, waste contract. We spent quite a few hours going through the contract. I think we understand where the bids are. One thing that we've done since, and we use the term bid, and I'm going to have Attorney Otis speak to this, but I think we use that term loosely because this is a service. That means when we do receive a bid, we can negotiate with each individual vendor, and we have done exactly that. Mr. Otis, if you would like to speak further on that.
Sure. So obviously, Mr. Minnick, we went through some public bidding approvals and considerations earlier today. We requested bids for services. So this trash contract is a bid for services versus like a public purchasing or replacing water mains or anything like that. So this came up it probably comes up every trash contract, but I was city attorney for only the last trash contract. Same questions came up. This is a bid for services, so the city has flexibility. It's not about changing the rules. You just have significant flexibility in choosing who you want. You obviously want to get the best price for the various services that you're doing, but it'd be no different than when you request services, legal services, engineering services, accounting services. You can choose who you want to work with ultimately. And so this has come up a couple times. There's been a lot of litigation over it, but the statute is very clear. Governmental bodies may use any procedures they deem appropriate when contracting for services and may adopt rules and establish policies to that end. Our policies that are on Muni Code that the public can see mirror the state statute. So you have a lot of authority here. You can change the criteria to make the decision in the best interest of the city in its consideration of the bids. So,
Thank you. We do have a couple public comments regarding this, and they happen to be council members because I know they've received phone calls. Tim Frankie, please state your name and address for the record.
Good morning, Board. Tim Frankie, 11 Green Acres, City Council President. As Mayor stated, I do receive calls from time to time when things don't go right, and I understand nobody's perfect, but I think we all agree current providers far from it. That's why I wanted to come today, just to share what I'm hearing out there and also my thoughts on it. I think that, if we're talking cents, which I think we are in terms of price differences, my opinion is we've seen historically great service from waste management, and I think that there's that factor the fact that there are many local employees currently that they have, and then sustainability is a big factor for me. I think that climate change is real, and I like the fact that their vehicles will reduce our carbon footprint by quite a bit, and I know that will also help us meet some of our goals on the sustainability committee. Thank you.
Questions? Roger Galloway, City Council.
Roger Galloway, 608 Tecumseh Street, City Council. I've talked to several people in LaPorte, and they would like to go back to the better service we have from Waste Management. They're easy to deal with. They have local people.
Questions for Mr. Galloway? Thank you. So I appreciate Mr. Minnick and all the work that they've put in since our last meeting. I'm sorry, but I'm going to use my handwritten board, and Mr. Minnick will type in, so everybody's just going to have to bear with me. Jess, I think you can see this.
I'll move if I
Since
can.
the initial bid, and we're just trying to make this simple, if one of the options, Nick, and you can be interactive here, was to eliminate Borden, to eliminate yard waste.
Yeah, so we tried to provide a structure that allowed for companies to put forth kind of, this is what we can do, which is a challenge when we follow Indiana bid law. So what we tried to do is a hybrid to produce the most kind of open results.
This is not a bid.
No. We wanted to produce the most transparent, process we could. Because of that, we offered the opportunity to put alternatives other than the base bid. Those alternatives range from fuel cost adjustments, things like that, which ultimately none of those specific things can guarantee us a savings because we don't know what fuel costs are going to do, but it's just something to look at for us and consider. Borden provided an alternative bid that allowed for yard waste to go in a can, in a cart, a 96-gallon cart, which is what is standard for all bids, but then also allowed for, if residents wanted to pay for additional carts for additional yard waste, they could do that. So that's an alternative bid to the base bid. Then we also have two base bids from Waste Management and Borden that would include the yard waste service, which is 3 biodegradable bags, bundles, or containers of yard waste for 6 months a year.
So in simple form, Borden, if we did not pick up yard waste, they would be at $13.69.
Correct.
So to even it out, because residents want their yard waste picked up, that's not a real option. And I will say Borden and Waste Management both have been fantastic to deal with. They've been responsive, trying to do the best things. So, and Mr. Minnick, just share with me, on this base bid, including yard waste, Waste Management is offering $13.80 versus $13.84, and Waste Management allows 3 additional bags to be picked up in addition to the 96 gallon.
For 6 months a year, correct?
For 6 months of the year.
Which, sorry, I actually have that number. I'll find it eventually.
Okay, so based on that, that puts the base bid at $13.84 for Borden, $13.80 for Waste Management. I don't believe we need, and talking with Mr. Batchelor, because of the success of the dumpster program, we go to 1 cleanup a year. We'll pick that date because the dumpster is always available. We can save 57 cents from Borden, 17 cents from Waste Management. Then, I want to remove the downtown containers. We hear nothing but problems, the broken wood, the issues of piling up. The downtown containers. Borden was first one to come with an idea. Waste Management also has an idea for totes. For the downtown container, Borden offered 33 cents of savings. Waste Management offers 64 cents. So you can ignore this math, but basically in year 1, it's $12.94 for Borden, $12.99 for waste. When you multiply that out, year one, Borden has a savings of $360. Year two, with extrapolating the numbers and the increases by both, $1,656. Year three, $3,096. Year four, $4,600, I believe, for a total difference between the two of $9,720 that Borden is less than Waste Management. Do you agree with these numbers based on this?
Yeah, and I just wanted to kind of clarify because I apologize for not being able to be at the last meeting, but my recommendation at that point was not based on the questions and concerns that I've had from the board and others, and there are other considerations such as the concern of where that yard waste is going to go. So if we're only collecting in the cart and offering people to collect it additionally in another cart, that yard waste is either not getting picked up, somebody else is going to have to take it to Ziegler Road, or it's ending up in our sewers and storm sewers.
So with this, the issues that I have and the concern will allow each to speak if they'd like to. Borden as well came back recommended by every group or local community they've served. They have zero name ID in our community. That's the biggest concern for me, coming off of what we just dealt with for the past 4 years, RTS, and anybody that's received more calls than I have, I want to meet with them. But I think we have to do something to expand Borden's name ID in the western part of the state of Indiana. But because of what we've gone through, and people's comfort being local as Waste Management, I'm going to ask or to make a recommendation that we move forward on this contract with Waste Management. Now, this hasn't been easy, but I will make that motion if there's a second. And before we make a decision, I'd like to give the opportunity to each group to speak if they would like to. So I am putting a motion to approve Waste Management based on these numbers.
So, and just to clarify, the numbers we're looking at includes not picking up yard waste and a small savings, not picking up yard waste, but that's losing out on, over the terms of the contract, 12,960 potential tons of yard waste that wouldn't be collected. So it's a significant amount of yard waste that would otherwise have the potential of being collected. Now, it's not always, because not everybody puts out 3 bags, bundles, or containers of yard waste each week, but it is a significant amount of material that would be somehow staying in our community and maybe not in a clean, healthy way.
But what I'm saying is Waste Management includes yard.
Correct.
We need to take off the table that we're not going to pick up yard waste. We're going to pick up yard waste from a public perspective.
When comparing the 2 base bids, which include the same service as far as yard waste, we're looking at a more significant difference. We're looking at close to $1.3, $1.4 million difference when comparing them, the exact same services as far as 3 bags of yard waste 6 months a year and the base trash service. Now, there's some nuances in that, but essentially when we take our 2 base bids, Borden's bid was at $5,942,000 with the things the mayor was able to negotiate. Because our concern is customers, it's customer service primary, but also even with being able to cut the cost a little bit to provide the same or similar service, we're looking at over the course of 4 years, a $3 to $4 increase in the cost of service for the community per month. So the mayor did a great job of trying to lessen that increase as much as possible through this process.
But again, to the board members, we are not going to not pick up yard waste. We are picking up yard waste. So these numbers, that's not a realistic discussion because the public is going to expect us to pick up yard waste. So these numbers, and please agree, just on these numbers, Mr. Minnick, that this is based on either Waste Management or Borden picking up yard waste in the 96-gallon container.
Yes,
Yes.
but waste is also picking up more.
Right, waste is going to pick up 3 bags more in addition, but we're not going to look at that savings by not picking up yard waste with Borden's base. So we're trying to keep it simple. Does that make sense? Borden offered a lower price if they didn't have to pick up yard waste.
Okay, yes.
What we're saying is that's not real.
That's not realistic, and that's not what the community wants, or
Correct.
the residents want. I don't want that,
Correct.
and I know my neighbors don't want that either.
So Waste Management is offering at these same prices to pick up, include yard waste, and then add 3 bags in addition 6 months of the year. Other things can be negotiated, but that is my motion. Do I have a second?
I'll make a second.
So I have a motion and a second. Before we have discussion, would either vendor, potential vendor, like to come forward and speak regarding this bid? Questions from the public? Mr. Ogle? Please.
Rick Ogle, 1902 Indiana Ave. I just heard towards the end of this from Mr. Minnick that the initial cost per person, when they get their billing, will be approximately $3 to $4 more.
Correct.
Will that, and that's going to be, that won't be set in stone. That'll happen probably every year.
Because as you can see, the increase from all the vendors. Yep.
And as a previous business owner, I dealt with Waste Management, and while their service is great, they jack you up. I just want everyone to be aware that that does happen.
And I will mention that the prices we're seeing are actually less than what we were seeing last time we bid. The biggest difference in cost is we're moving to, in order to keep everything cleaner and more concise, help with code enforcement, help with storm drains. These bids all include a 96-gallon cart. So the last time we awarded at the $10.50.
51 cent?
40 cents. $10.41, that did not include that cart. So a lot of residents ended up paying on top of that. So the numbers we saw from both Borden and Waste Management were actually very good when you take into consideration that we're adding this additional aspect to waste collection, which really is geared to try and make sure that we are getting a higher quality service.
And so Waste Management, to address your concern, I've had direct conversation, which Mr. Otis will confirm with them, that if their prices go up, other than this bid that they put in for 4 years, we can remove from the contract. Because we're not going to sit back and allow increases to happen for our residents. Absolutely, 100%.
Over a 4-year period, it increases by $1.74, and that'll all be structured into the ordinance that we set rates with, but it's fairly consistent.
Did you just say that it's already built in?
There,
Per year?
yeah. So we have we would enter into a 4-year contract, and they have provided costs for year 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then at year 4, we rebid and try and get the lowest cost, best service at that
So the
point.
175 is negotiable or not negotiable?
No, it has already been proposed. That cost has already been proposed.
Okay.
So we already know that. In both Both firms, so the last time we did this, RTS was the only firm that did not have a cost increase over 4 years. And I think over the last year, they come to us on a monthly basis demanding additional funds that we refuse to get them.
Which we denied.
Because it's not in the contract, yeah.
Well, not only the service was horrible, the service has been horrible, but the contract stated, and we expect people to fill the
Yeah,
contract.
The cost increases that we see submitted from both Borden and Waste Management and all the other firms that submitted that were higher than these two, it's very common to see about that same increase over the 4-year period. So there's not that is standard, and we would love to keep the same price for 4 years, but that's not what we see.
So thank you. And so, as Nick's point, everybody will receive a 96-gallon container. It will take 8 weeks from ordering to receive that. So for the next 2 months, if approved, Waste Management will clean up manually using other containers. But at some point, hopefully 8 weeks, but we know how the lead times work with different products these days. Our goal will be everybody will have one 96-gallon container that will look consistent throughout the city of LaPorte.
And when is the contract going to start?
March 1st.
March 1st.
And so they will transition. You have, what do you want to call it, street maps, road maps for where they can go, and I think they've done it before. And I think this is also an opportunity, when we look at street sweepings, I'd certainly love to see Borden have an opportunity to do something, even on a smaller scale, to allow our community to learn, educate themselves with who Borden is, and give them a chance to develop a relationship in the city of LaPorte.
Absolutely.
And they may say, hey, I want no part of that, and I get it, but at least an offering of something like that, because I think we need multiple vendors here. But as Mr. Frankie said, Waste Management is local. They were removed last time, and there weren't many complaints. So further discussion.
Mayor, I'll just add, the bidders have been very professional. I know that there's a group here that worked hard that's not going to get the bid, no matter how you vote today. Last time, we had some pretty disrespectful behavior towards Mayor Krentz and some of the board members, and so we all appreciate that. Everybody's trying to do the right thing, get the best deal for the city, best services. And unless you're sitting in here, a normal resident, they expect when they turn their water on that Jerry's department or that Tim's department's going to work. When they flush the toilet, Jerry's department's going to work. And all these things you're approving today, like, people don't know that this stuff goes on. They just expect your trash to get picked up and don't understand the complexity of all of that. So from yard waste to trash bins to all those other things, so.
We appreciate all the bids we received, but the two lowest, most responsive bidders, and I would say Borden really stepped up and offered a lot of different alternatives. But in the end, kind of looking at all those alternatives, we can't necessarily be increasing costs to do certain things. We need to kind of keep a system that we have, and maybe we can make adjustments to that in the future. But these two bids were extremely well done, and I really appreciate, you could tell the care and time Borden put into their bid. It doesn't mean the contract ends up going that direction, but they very professional and have been impressed. So I think, when we do this again in 4 years, it's going to be another challenge. But I think the quality of bid is why it's taken this long to come to this conclusion.
And I think name ID is going to be important, and that's why with the street sweeping opportunity, doing some other things there. So
I got a question. The bins that we are using now from RTS, when will those be picked up? Will those be?
I'm sure sooner than later.
Because a lot of people were forced to get rid of their trash cans to go to those bins. So.
And we're going to have
I just have some concerns about
60
that.
days of transition where people, it's going to be bags out there and waste or board, and we're both aware of that, and it is what it is. And we apologize for any delays on this, but we wanted to get it right, again, after what's happened the past 4 weeks, or 4 years. We needed a quality service.
Yeah, I would comment that, and first I'll say that, you know, I have good friends that work at both of these organizations. Had experience having, you know, when I was in the county, had waste management for probably 15 years, and certainly no evidence of, and one of the things I talked with the mayor about was asked about, you know, the references that he checked in, so no reason to believe that we wouldn't have good service from either of these two providers, kind of based on what I know and understand and believe. And just a couple comments, right, in the last month that we've been reviewing these numbers and, you know, the various spreadsheets and, you know, the bid proposals, and, you know, learned a lot more about trash than I ever thought I would know. But it's been, you know, both an interesting process, but kind of, you know, I think Mr. Otis actually, I think it was Mr. Otis made the point, like, really, our residents just want the trash to be picked up, and they don't want to have to worry about it. So the good news is that, you know, from what I can see and have heard, we've got two great bidders, right, that provided very responsive bids with a lot of options. I really appreciate Borden for some of the unique things that they brought to the table. Appreciate Waste Management for a lot of things that their, you know, organization does, you know, in terms of what they presented in technology and sustainability and all that. It's fantastic to have a couple of great options to choose from. So really appreciate the work that you've done and the mayor's done and everybody else has done to kind of keep going back to the table here and looking at these. Because, you know, one of the things, you know, initially, like the recommendation looking at, well, gosh, it looks like Borden is going to save us, you know, about $150,000 over the 4-year period. But again, that's pulling out some pieces and such. So I just want to comment that it's been, you know, there's been a lot of work put into it, far beyond what I think we as, you know, probably Jessica and I as Board of Works members have done in terms of what the mayor is doing, Nick's doing, and the bidders, and going over all these details. So I just want to make those comments, but really appreciate, you know, the comments from everybody that came up today, because it is important, because the bottom line is that we all just want our trash to be picked up appropriately, and who knows, you know, down the road when we take a look at, there are a lot of other options for yard waste that, quite honestly, I would say are superior to what we're looking at today, but those add even more costs that, you know, when I look at it, say, I don't know if our residents are prepared to do that. And certainly, you know, maybe some would, but overall, I think it'd be a challenge. So, but do appreciate all these options. I think we'll be in a far better spot 4 years from now to take a look at this information based upon what we've learned, you know, here in the last month.
I think he said it all.
Sorry, I kind of rambled there for a little bit.
That's good. No.
So, Mayor, you're
Make a
made
motion
of waste management.
For
So
a
I know
4-year
that.
contract.
So a couple things. Now, we did express some concerns at the last meeting about the exceptions and clarifications that were part of the waste management bid. What are you thinking in terms of those?
Mr. Otis will meet with Waste
Some were minor,
Management.
but some
We
were,
have
you
to
know.
bring, there's going to be a formal contract that has to come before the board again, between Waste and the city.
Yes. And so in the meantime, when this hits March 1st, are they allowed to collect while we work that out for a collection here?
I mean, I think we can. We'll have to figure out the compensation for them, though, but that has to be approved. I mean, that'll be the first March meeting, I suppose.
Because they are prepared to pick up as of March 1st. I think many of the 19 are legal names and that attorneys put together to scare you, and
Or to protect the city and the taxpayer.
yes, that's right. But, you know, the main thing is if we saw increases, we're going to be able to end the contract at whatever point, if we saw exactly what Mr. Ogle, because that was our concern as well, so.
So is that in terms of?
Real quick, RTS tried to do that multiple times to us, and we just said that's not part of the contract, multiple times. Maybe more than multiple times. It was quite a few times.
A good 6 months.
Yeah.
So that piece of being kind of, again, to Mr. Ogle's point and your concerns, right, that the ability to have some sort of an out clause would be built in there if things don't go well. No reason to believe that, but.
Correct. Because we won't wait 4 years this round if things don't. We expect them to go well, but if they don't, we're not going to sit for 4 years and just accept it. So with that, further discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. I'd encourage everybody to come Friday to the meeting with LEAP for the public and for the elected officials. And also, it was nice to see Governor Holcomb stop in yesterday into the office, talk about a variety of topics from workforce, housing, and see what the state can do to help the city. And I felt the opportunity to tell them what the city can do to help the state and improve their process. And so it was a great meeting, and we'll hopefully continue that discussion. And with that, I think that should be everything. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Have a great day, everybody.